Been a while since we had some decent Xbox news, and I know some of y'all are probably getting a little tired of the constant negative stuff. Me too. Listen, this gen's going to carry on regardless. I mean, I don't see Microsoft doing any thing that's going to kill off the Series X or anything this generation. So we've got a while yet before we do things. There was, however, an update which I found to be very interesting because this really goes to show that this, in my opinion, if this doesn't move the needle for Xbox, I honestly don't know what they can do at that point, and this could have bad repercussions if it doesn't work the way that Microsoft wants it to work. So, we'll see. But let's go ahead and get into it. If you guys are joining me and you enjoy the content, I do daily videos. Please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. So, pretty cool update from Microsoft. Like to see this stuff. It looks like they're planning to put Call of Duty onto Game Pass day one. This year's Call of Duty, which is the next Black Ops game, which, those games are always... they do incredibly well. So if there's ever going to be a thing that could do anything for Xbox, this would be it. So according to the Wall Street Journal, sources with knowledge of the situation claim that this year's entry, which has yet to been even officially announced, will be included in the subscription service. This would make it the first time that Call of Duty game has been included in such a service at launch, and would mean that players with access to Xbox platforms, the entry cost for the game would be as little as $11. Microsoft plans a major shakeup of its video game sales strategy by releasing the coming installment of Call of Duty to its subscription service instead of the long-time lucrative approach of trying to sell it a la carte. Call of Duty's inclusion in the service was a long-held sticking point in the protracted court battles following the merger of Xbox and Activision Blizzard. The game has almost uniformly been the year's best-selling, which Sony suggested would give Microsoft an unfair advantage if they were to offer it on PlayStation players at full price. Now, the next Call of Duty game that could be revealed later this month, could be something very interesting. Now, what I find it to be very interesting is that Sony was complaining publicly, but privately they were already supplying Microsoft with dev kits to work on PlayStation games like Sea of Thieves and things like that. So, code unearthed by data miners following the release of Modern Warfare 3 and Warzone Season 3 Reloaded update potentially hints at a plans to announce this next series and entry soon ahead of dedicated showcase, which is going to be expected next month. Now, earlier it was announced that Microsoft plans to hold an Xbox game showcase on June 9th, followed by another digital presentation for a mystery game, which, according to The Verge, that game is the new Call of Duty, and publisher Activision is said to be targeting late October with the release, specifically October 25th. So, interesting to see that. Combing through the files for the recent Warzone update, data miners reportedly uncovered a number of references to Cerberus revealed during Season 3, which is expected to run until May. Players who pre-order the next Call of Duty game may also unlock a Frank Woods character in Warzone, as with the case with 2020's Black Ops Cold War. So, yeah, it looks like it's going to be very interesting. How will that work out for Xbox? I don't really know. Listen, I know there's a lot of Xbox fans, and I'm going to get a little bit of hate for this, which, fine, whatever. But a lot of Xbox fans realistically just expect people, whether they're on PC or PlayStation, to just spend hundreds of dollars on an Xbox and spend, a couple $100s a year renting Call of Duty through Game Pass. I don't think it's going to quite do that the way that people think. Could there be some uptick? Absolutely. But if you already own a PlayStation 5 or a PC, you're just going to buy the game like usual. So, I don't see there being a ton of movement or people kind of moving over, but it is nice to see them actually do that. And like I said, Call of Duty being one of the bigger games, I feel like it could be like a make or break situation for Microsoft. And again, people that are kind of, I guess, celebrating this on the Xbox side, I'm a little bit more worried. I'm like, well, listen, let's just say that this doesn't work out and they don't get what they need to from it. What then? Do you close more studios? Do you lay people off? Do you cancel games? There would obviously be some kind of repercussion, which would be severely unfortunate, because gaming is going sort of a weird direction right now, and I feel like we could be headed towards even something like a crash or something along those lines, if things don't get kind of worked out. And I think obviously, inflation plays a big part in what's going on, and hopefully that can kind of go down or whatever before too long. But again, Microsoft. I hope they know what they're doing. But this wasn't the only bit of news, and that I thought it was actually pretty good news, that I'm excited about, because this is the right thing to do. Microsoft also announced that Redfall, the much maligned game, will receive a final update outing offline play, which preserves the game. Thankfully, I mean, how could you not look at this as a big hypocritical thing if they didn't do this, right? They always talk about game preservation and this and that and the other thing, but then there's this game that obviously would go away if it wasn't for the ability to play it offline. There was no offline mode. So Arcane Austin will release one final update for Redfall, which will add offline play. The official Redfall account on X posted that the game's final patch, Game Update 4, will include a revamped neighborhood nest system, as well as single player pausing, offline mode, and more. There had been suggestions that the update wouldn't be released after Microsoft recently announced plans to close the studio. They said, "Thank you all for supportive messaging. We are working to release our final update. Game Update 4 brings revamped neighborhoods and nest systems, single player pausing, offline mode, and more." In February 2023, 3 months before the game was released, it was confirmed that Redfall required a persistent online connection, even for single player gameplay. Though the studio subsequently said it was looking into removing the always online requirement for solo players. Earlier this month, news broke that Microsoft had informed staff of plans to close Arcane Austin, along with Hi-Fi Rush maker Tango Gameworks, along with Alpha Dog and Roadhouse. Following this, it was speculated that the game would receive no further updates. In September of 23, Bethesda head of publishing Pete Hines said the company would make Redfall a, quote, good game. Despite an underwhelming reception at launch, he said, "Okay, we didn't get the start we wanted, but it's still a fun game, and we're going to keep working on it. We're going to do 60 frames per second. We're going to get it to be a good game, because we know, as a first-party studio, Game Pass lives forever. There will be people 10 years from now who are going to join Game Pass, and Redfall will be there." So, again, just nice to see that kind of happen. I don't really have any plans to go back to it. I thought the game was okay after they had patched in a 60 FPS and did some of those things. I think clearly, it still had some issues here and there, but overall I thought it was a much better game than the one that we got at launch, which again, does make you think a little bit, because both, like Redfall and, and even a situation where, we got Starfield, which I thought was a really good game, but then when you look at it, it's like, okay, well, Starfield, we could have got that version that we have right now, which is a much better version with the option to do performance mode and things like that. To me, I don't understand why we wouldn't get that option with the, and all that kind of stuff. The way that it is now, in my opinion anyway, should have been the way that it released to begin with. But, maybe you guys think differently than me. Let me know down below. I appreciate each and every one of you. Subscribe, like, share it out, all that kind of good stuff. Crap Gamer out.